What's up guys, my name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about the Solstice of Heroes. Today's video is going to set a guide for all the different armors and upgrades and the things that are happening in Solstice of Heroes so you can get yourself to 405 before the Forsaken DLC. Now there are a lot of questions when it comes to the Solstice of Heroes. What is it? What do you get from it? How do you get it? And of course, how do you farm those specific activities? The biggest and main thing about the Solstice of Heroes is getting a full set of 405 gear. Now to do this, you first start with a green set of armor for that particular class. You then upgrade it to blue, upgrade it to purple, and then you upgrade it to final time for presumably the higher amount of power level. And that will allow you to get to 405 light, assuming you've completed the prestige raid layers to get the weapons. On top of that, there's a whole bunch of other things, including Eververse stuff, new armors, new ornaments, new sets of emotes, and lots of ghosts and whatnot, so you can check out Eververse if you're wondering what that's about. This video is going to focus on getting those armors and how to get them upgraded and how to get them upgraded quickly. And if you do like the videos that I make and you like the videos I do in the future, make sure you leave a like down below and of course submit your pictures for cute animals. And this week is brought to you by Cute Kitties. The first one was actually sent to me by a subscriber of mine through Discord, and you can send me pictures of your cute animals or any animals that you think are adorable through Twitter, through Discord, all of them linked in the description down below, next to the respective Dorito symbols. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. The Solstice of Heroes will start off with a bunch of different campaign missions that they've redone that they call the Redux missions. So when you first start off, you'll get a prize from Eververse, a free Solstice engram, which you can get from every bright engram you get. You get both the prototype and the Solstice engram. And you'll also start off on the Homecoming mission. After completing that very first mission, you'll arrive back in the tower and you'll get a full set of Scorched gear. Now each one of these pieces will have certain objectives on them. Check the link in the description down below for a full list of all the classes, for all the upgrades, for all the different armor sets that you can have from the Scorched set, Rekindled, as well as the Resplendent set. There's a whole bunch of different ways you need to upgrade them. Check the link in the description down below, which is going to be a game rant link where it lists all the different things you have to do. It's going to be a lot easier than going to your inventory and checking one each time you want to do it. And as a last little note on that, make sure you read the flavor text above the check marks, because sometimes it just says get void kills on the checkbox, but then in the flavor text it'll say get void kills on Earth. So make sure you check those flavor texts because those are going to be important. For the most part, these are pretty straightforward. It'll have you complete certain objectives, including completing the different campaign missions. You have to complete all 5 of them for the 5 different pieces, collecting certain elemental orbs, getting kills in the Crucible, getting super kills, a whole bunch of other things that I'm going to talk about in this video. Firstly, let's talk about the elemental orbs, because these are new. To get elemental orbs to spawn, you have to spawn a regular orb or just get regular amounts of kills with a particular subclass. The type of the subclass will give you that type of orb. So if you're running a solar subclass, you're going to be more likely to get solar orbs. Your weapon also does play an effect on the type of orb you get. So if you're using a solar subclass and a void weapon, sometimes maybe like 1/4 or 1/8 of the time, you'll get a void orb pop off the enemy. And on top of that, if your teammates are using arc subclasses, they will spawn arc orbs. So if you're running these different activities, I highly recommend you run them with the same class as your teammates, because all the Titans will have the same type of objectives, all the Hunters will have slightly modified objectives. As for the whole set of armor, for the most part, all the classes are pretty much the same, except for they kind of just shuffle stuff around and they'll have a different type. For example, the Titan Gauntlets have you get solar orbs in strikes, whereas the Warlock Gauntlets have you get arc orbs in strikes. The rest of it should be pretty straightforward, and I highly recommend you do as many of those as you can at the exact same time. For example, on the Titan set, you can do the 10 heroic public events, you can do the 10 patrols, you can do the void orbs on Earth, and you can do the void orbs just all at the exact same time while doing public events and patrols on Earth. This makes things a lot easier and a lot quicker when you're doing things as much as you can at the same time. And if you ever come to the end part where you've done all the little details, you've done your Crucible, you've done your heroic public events, you've done all the little things, and you still have orbs to get, I'm going to be describing right now some farms to get orbs if you're missing them. So the first thing you need to understand about the orbs is they're more likely to drop from elites. So for the most part, if you're going to be farming it, go for the things that have the most elites. And elites are the guys with orange or yellow bars of health. So doing things like heroic public events that spawn a lot of elite enemies is very, very useful. For example, Glimmer Extraction is very nice. The Vex Plate one that always spawns one of those exploding hobgoblin things that just come at you. Those are also very nice. They spawn lots and lots, especially once you turn it heroic, almost every enemy becomes elite. There are also other farms. For example, there's one adventure that just has like 2 elite Reavers just spawn outside of a door every few seconds. I have already completed this adventure on all 3 characters, so I can't give you any footage of that, but but I'll link in the description down below a video from Error where he shows this particular farm in action, and it shows that it's very, very effective, and you can do it with any subclass, with any class, as long as you haven't completed that adventure. But if you have, or you just don't have access to Nessus for some reason, there's other ways to do it. Another great strategy is going to be the engine room strategy, because this room is just filled full of elites. You get tons of power ammo. You can just keep going through it very, very quickly. The only downside is you have to have your full set of scorched armor to be able to get those elemental orbs to drop. And in the Leviathan raid, the minimum is 290, so you have to equip something else to get in, and then you have to be lower than the enemy's light level in order to just be able to keep that full set of armor on. So if your weapons are not 405 or at least 385, I highly recommend just don't do this strategy, because you're going to be so underleveled that you're going to get murked every single time. But if you have a higher level, like for example, I had 2 405 weapons and a 385 weapon because my heavy weapon was a sniper and it wasn't that useful, then you can go in with somewhat of confidence. In the video, I'm showing how to get to the engine room. It's actually quite simple. You can find guides on the internet of the specifics. All you have to do is activate the levers below, which you can do totally solo, and then you go through the underbelly, you take a left at the fork, and then you go into the engine room, and you just repeat this room over and over and over again. You kill off all the enemies, you exit the room, you go back in, and you just keep repeating these things over and over again. What makes this one so nice is that almost all the enemies in the room are elites, and all the enemies spawn from the same door, which makes it very effective. My personal favorite in this room is going to be Acreus. Even when I was under level, it still marked pretty much everybody in its shot. Alternatively, you can also use Wardcliffe Coil, but that's somewhat unwieldy, and you have to wait for a reload if you don't just get a brick off the bat. Now, once you've completed all the objectives on the Scorch set, you're going to be able to upgrade it to the Rekindled set. I assume that you have to go to the tower to do this, and it will upgrade your entire set to Blue set and give you a new set of objectives. These objectives are a little bit different than the previous ones, but they incorporate a lot of the same ideas. Again, you'll have to complete all 5 of the campaign missions, the new Redux missions. It'll be pretty straightforward. You just do these one at a time, and you'll get a lot of the other things along the way. You also have to do a bunch of other miscellaneous things, like, for example, getting certain super kills, energy weapon kills, grenade kills, melee, power weapon kills. Again, each class is going to be different, the different types of damage you have to do, as well as maybe the different armor piece that needs it. And then finally, there's a set of specific ones, for example, completing the Nightfall, completing heroic strikes, non-private crucible match wins, completing adventures, defeating enemies. For example, the completing adventures, that's 10. So you have to do 10 adventures, which means you're probably going to be doing adventures and heroic strikes the whole time. Even though that these are pretty straightforward, there's a lot of ways to make this a lot easier and a lot smoother. For example, if you want to get the grenade or the power weapon kills, you can actually just do a prestige nightfall with either grenadier or heavyweight on to increase the amount of grenades and heavy ammo that you get, as well as heavy damage, so you can get those quite quickly. So again, all you have to do is go on the Prestige Nightfall, change your Nightfall card to have the modifier Advantage to give you Grenadier if you're going for the grenades, or for example, you can get Heavyweight if you're going for the power weapon kills, and just go through that Nightfall normally, maybe with friends, without friends, it doesn't matter. Those are both very effective advantages, and you should be able to do it pretty easily. If you look into the melee ones, there's a lot of different exotic armors that will help you do this very effectively. For example, the Titan is very effective to use the ACD feedback fence, because you just keep getting melee hits and you get your melee back. For the Warlock, I recommend Ahamkara's Claw, because you get 2 melee charges. And then finally for the Hunter, I recommend going with Ophidian Spathe, because you get 2 melee charges. And then finally, these super kills. If you don't find that you have enough super kills by the time you need to farm these, there's a very, very fast and effective way to do this, is going to be rallying the flag. If you did not know, when you grab the flag in a heroic public event before it starts, where it says a timer in the top, you're going to get a full set of ammo and a full super, which means you can literally just get your super, pop it, kill the enemies in the surrounding areas, teleport back to the point next to you as long as you're solo, and then just get the rally flag again, and you just keep doing that until the heroic event starts, and then you dip out and find a new flag to do it on. You can also use this to get a lot of heavy ammo, since you get a full set of heavy ammo. The only problem is that there's not a ton of enemies in the area, and it might not be as fast as just doing a Nightfall with heavyweight on. Alternatively, for the heavy one, you can again just do the engine room strategy, since so much heavy ammo just spawns in that room and you're killing enemies with heavy weapons. And then finally, once you've completed the Rekindled set, you're gonna upgrade to the final legendary set, where you'll have a final set of objectives, which I don't know what they give you. I assume it upgrades you to 405 light level, but I don't know. These set of objectives are definitely the hardest in the game. It's pretty much the hardest activities you can have outside of just winning trials flawless. The first one is completing the prestige nightfall at or above the bonus threshold. So that's going to be getting 110,000 score for a nightfall. Now this is somewhat daunting to a lot of people who don't do a lot of nightfall scoring, but it's actually not that hard these days because there's a lot of methods to do it quite easily. I definitely have a lot of videos in the past where I've done different high scoring nightfalls where I'm saying, hey, this is how you get uniques. You have to get a high score. So you can check out some of those previous ones if you want to know how to get these pretty quickly. My personal favorite, the one that I find is the highest scoring one because it's the highest density of points out of any nightfall, is going to be Arms Dealer. So if you see Arms Dealer go by, you should definitely go for this one while it's there. However, I don't know if Arms Dealer is going to happen in these 4 weeks, so you can pretty much just do it on any nightfall. Any one of them is very possible. All you have to do is pick the right modifier, which is really not that high. And then you also have to pick some of the other modifiers and disadvantages that make it, again, not that hard. Again, check out one of my previous videos. It's pretty much the same as any nightfall. Next up, you have to complete a heroic strike with at least one clanmate. This is just encouraging you to have a clan. Just join anybody. It does not matter. Leave the clan you're in if nobody plays. You just have to have one other person while you're doing a strike, and it should complete it for you. Next up is the plate, probably the hardest one out of them, as you complete the Prestige Leviathan raid. Now this is going to be very hard for a lot of people who've never done any raids. I'm not going to use this video to tell you exactly how to do that. I have a video in the past where I talked about getting 385 for raid noobs, for people who've never done raids, to help people get into raids, as well as alternatives to raids. So again, I'll leave that description down below for 385 raid noobs if you want to check out the best ways of doing the raid and getting in to do this particular activity. Next up is the Greaves. Probably the hardest one for me is going to be achieving Legend rank in the Valor Crucible ranking. Legend rank is the top rank, and that is going to be the 6th rank up. So if you guys want to get that, you're going to have to do a lot of grinding. Hopefully they'll give us a triple Valor weekend at somewhere in the Solstice of Heroes to help us out with this, or alternatively, hopefully Mayhem comes around so I can actually play Crucible without getting murked. I do not know if you have already been to the Legend rank or if you're currently at the Legend rank, if you don't have to do anything at all, but that may be a possibility. And then lastly for the class item is just defeat bosses. I don't know how many bosses, but for the most part that seems like it should be a lot of bosses, and the best way to farm bosses is gonna probably be public events. And that's the video. I apologize if it was too long, if I ran it too much, or if I spoke too quickly. If you have any of these issues, make sure you leave a comment down below. I answer every single comment in my comment section, so please ask them. I will get to them soon. Anyways, that's pretty much the video. That is the Solstice of Heroes. I don't know if they're going to have any updates along the way. They may add activities, may remove activities, may change some things up along the way. But for the most part, that is the Solstice of Heroes. That is how you get to the top rank armor, and that is the best way to do it. Anyways, I've been your host, Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.